Tonight, sent to hospital. A child on a bike is hit by a pickup. Break and enter. Fort St. John police looking for 5 suspects. And weather worries. High winds in the forecast for this week. Good evening and thank you for joining us. And we begin tonight with a child taken to hospital in Fort St. John after being hit by a pickup truck. It happened Monday afternoon as the child was riding his bike. Now, police say the driver was making a right-hand turn at the intersection of 116th Avenue and 86th Street when it struck the cyclist. The child was taken to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. As for the driver, they remained on scene and was cooperating with police. The road was closed for a period of time while officers conducted an investigation. And the Fort St. John RCMP are asking for the public's help with information about a break and enter. Last Thursday night, shortly after 11, Mounties received a report about a break and enter at Mondo Restaurant on 100th Street. Well, police are looking to identify 5 suspects. Video surveillance shows 4 males, 1 female breaking into the restaurant through the back door. Now, police say several bottles of liquor and cash were stolen. If you have any information on this case or are able to identify any of these suspects, you are being asked to contact the Fort St. John RCMP at the number listed at the bottom of your screen. Well, a former Grand Prairie doctor convicted of sexually abusing a child has been granted full parole. Albert de Villiers was found guilty in Grand Prairie in February of 2023 of repeated sexual offenses against a young boy over a 2-year period between 2018 and 2020. In 2023, a judge sentenced him to 5.5 years in prison. Well, the parole board noted that de Villiers has completed a number of sex offender programs while in custody and day parole. He was assessed as having stable mental health and a generally low risk to reoffend. Before his risk, de Villiers was the senior medical officer with Alberta Health Services in Grand Prairie. He then moved to BC, where he was the chief medical officer for Interior Health. Well, the BC Wildfire Service says the next few days are critical for the Ciscateno wildfire. The fire is still 5 kilometers from Kelly Lake. It's grown into 3 main fingers, with the northern section reaching Highway 52. Now, firefighters are hoping to prevent the fire from crossing the highway. A fire guard has been established on the west side of the blaze, but there are concerns high winds later this week will fan the flames. Wind gusts of up to 50 kilometers an hour are expected Thursday. That number goes up to 60 kilometers Friday. An increase in the wind could start moving the fire towards Kelly Lake later this week. The Wildfire Service says there could be a significant growth in fire activity and to the size of the fire. Close to 70 people remain evacuated from their homes. And the Alaska Highway west of Fort Nelson has been closed once again. The road is closed between Steamboat and Toad River. It reopened last night but was down to single-lane alternating traffic. Well, Drive BC announcing today around noon the highway's been closed for a second time. A wildfire burning near Highway 97 has grown to 2,628 hectares in size. It's burning out of control 10 kilometers northeast of Summit Lake. Now, evacuation alert was issued Monday night. It was issued for the Alaska Highway corridor from Summit Lake Campground to the Steamboat Mountain Brake Check. The blaze is believed to be human-caused and has become just the second wildfire of note in BC this year. Drivers are being reminded to check Drive BC for road closures. Wildfires are continuing to burn out of control across BC. The dry conditions are leading to increased fire behavior, and now there are concerns that fires burning here in the northeast BC could get even worse with warm temperatures and those high winds forecast for the week.
We did also have some lightning impacts roll through the province on Sunday, a bit of a dry cell, some convective activity. So new starts from that lightning activity on Sunday into today could also result in new starts, again, particularly in that northern part of the Prince George Fire Center, sort of the Fort Nelson and Fort St. John fire zones.
The BC Wildfire Service says there are currently 74 active wildfires burning across BC. Half of those are classified as burning out of control. A special air quality advisory has been issued for Northeast BC. The quality of air from wildfires right across Western Canada now reaching unhealthy levels. And it's spreading into the United States, even to Europe. CTV's Heather Wright has the details.
More than 150 forest fires are burning across Canada right now. Not only have thousands been forced from their homes, the smoke from those fires is impacting millions of people across North America, with the smoke traveling as far away as Europe.
These are forest fires that are sending smoke really high into the atmosphere. And those tiny particles, because there's so much heat, there's so much energy in those fires, those smoke particles can travel really long distances.
The bulk of the air quality warnings are for Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, and northwestern Ontario, though experts warn the list could grow over the coming days. Over the weekend, smoke drifted into parts of Wisconsin, Nebraska, North Dakota, and Minnesota, though hazy conditions have been reported as far south as Georgia. Experts say the best advice is to follow air quality warnings and stay indoors as much as possible.
The health impacts of these smoke particles, that especially the ones that are smaller than about 0.3 of a millimeter, is that they can really get deep into your lungs. And so one of the things that people want to do when there's a smoke alert is avoid spending too much time outdoors.
The hazy skies in some parts of North America, reminiscent of the 2023 wildfire season, the most destructive ever recorded in Canada. More than 6,000 fires burned a staggering 150,000 square kilometers, creating dangerous air quality for many parts of the continent. Some tips from experts include using an air purifier inside and keeping windows closed as much as possible. Heather Wright, CTV News, Toronto.
A new report is showing British Columbians are spending more time waiting at the emergency room. According to a new report from the Montreal Economic Institute, the average ER visit in British Columbia took patients 4 hours and 13 minutes. That's a 14-minute increase from last year. It's also an increase of more than an hour over the past 5 years. Victoria General and Abbotsford Regional Hospitals had the highest wait times in all of BC at more than 6 hours spent during the average visit. And the province of Alberta now has more than 700 confirmed measles cases. The majority are in the South Zone, where numbers continue to grow. There were 13 more confirmed cases this weekend. There was a recent exposure in Edmonton on May the 28th at the foyer to the University of Alberta Hospital between 7 and 10 that night. Health officials say all Albertans should make sure they are fully vaccinated against the measles. They add, it's the best protection against the highly infectious disease. Well, the federal government is proposing sweeping new legislation aimed at strengthening the border. According to officials, the new act would give increased powers to security intelligence officers. CTV's Abigail Beeman now on the Strong Border Act and what it's promising to do.
First of all, let me just introduce...
A full foyer for the Public Safety Minister's Strong Borders Act. The wide-ranging bill targets everything from organized crime and car theft to fentanyl flow to money laundering.
There are a number of elements in the bill that have been irritants for the U.S., so we are addressing some of those issues, but it's not exclusively about the United States.
He says it's not just about our relationship with the United States, but strengthening Canada, including in immigration. If passed, part of the broader powers include, for matters of public health or national security, canceling immigration documents immediately or canceling applications.
I am very concerned that people's privacy would be breached. I'm very concerned that those who submitted claims in the immigration system will all of a sudden find their application being withdrawn.
There are also new powers to search mail and in urgent, time-sensitive circumstances for law enforcement to act without a warrant, all of which has privacy experts concerned.
They need to start listening to what all Canadians have to say about this. Yes, be concerned. This is just the tip of the iceberg, and not knowing what lies behind it or beneath it, that is cause for grave concern.
And I fundamentally believe that we have strike the balance, that while expanding powers in certain instances does have the safeguards and the protections in place.
The legislation is so sweeping it touches 8 different departments. Abigail Beeman, CTV News, Ottawa.
Staying in Ottawa, the federal Liberals have suffered their first loss of the new parliament. This after a Conservative amendment to the throne speech narrowly passed last night. It calls for a firm commitment from the government to introduce an economic update or budget before the House rises for the traditional summer break later this month.
Look, we're in a new territory. Canadians have elected a minority government with a very thin margin, depending on which parties may side with the government or with one another on any given vote. I try not to bake feelings into these things. They're math challenges, not problems with feelings. But we have to make sure that we do the work necessary to try to collaborate with parties across the aisle in order to implement the mandate that Canadians have given us.
The Conservative amendment passed 166 to 164. The debate on the throne speech continues through tomorrow. Government House Leader Stephen McKinnon says a final vote on the throne speech will be a vote of confidence. U.S. President Donald Trump is going ahead with his threatened 50% tariffs on steel and aluminum as of tomorrow. Trump is doubling the current tariff of 25%. This as 11th hour talks took place today between top American and Canadian officials. CTV's Rachel Aiello on how the industry is bracing for the massive impact.
How did the meeting go?
Canada-U.S. Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc and Ambassador Kirsten Hillman met with U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick in D.C. today.
Every time we have these conversations, I think we deepen our understanding of each other's positions, and I'm hopeful that we can get to the best outcome for Canadians.
Canada's position is that these tariffs are not justified.
But they emerged without any assurances that this country will be spared from the president's latest trade action. As the White House confirms, Trump will be going ahead with his pledge to hike tariffs on steel and aluminum imports tomorrow.
The president will be signing that executive order today, and steel and aluminum tariffs will be going to 50%, yes.
Canadian workers are worried. The industry is already treading water, and now unions fear thousands of jobs could be in peril.
This will be the camel that breaks the straws back, and we will see immediate and probably many layoffs within the sector.
With this anxiety hanging overhead today, the U.S. ambassador to Canada sought to charm a business crowd in Toronto.
Your Prime Minister, my President, they can do this quickly if they have the will and the direction to do it.
After meeting directly with Ontario's Premier.
I did mention to the ambassador 9 million Americans wake up every morning to produce a product, a widget, for Ontario alone. If they keep on the 25% tariffs on steel, my recommendation is slap them with a 25% because we can't be kicked around any longer.
Beyond vowing to support the sector, there's no word yet on what next steps the federal government is prepared to take. Minister LeBlanc is expected to touch base with premiers later today about how the meeting with Lutnick went. Rachel Aiello, CTV News, Ottawa.
Canadian Tire has been given the green light to purchase Hudson's Bay's trademarks. An Ontario judge ruled the historic $30 million deal was the best outcome given the circumstances facing the Bay. The deal gives Canadian Tire rights to the name, the coat of arms, those iconic stripes, as well as other apparel lines and trademarks. The court also granted approval for more than 8,300 terminated company employees to receive federal benefits. It's not something you see every day. A porcupine was discovered on a plane after it was hauled from a crash site near Mackenzie and taken to Kelowna. The plane was traveling to Fort St. John when it went down in a remote area near Mackenzie. It was a shocking sight for the crew tasked with transporting the plane wreck. The porcupine had traveled nearly 1,000 kilometers over 3 days. Well, after trying to lure it out, the team reached out to the experts for help.
I was very surprised by that request. This definitely has not happened before.
The porcupine is now being cared for at a rehab center in Summerland until it can be relocated back here to northern BC. All right, please do stay tuned. I'll be right back after the break with weather.